Okay, I am super excited to introduce my next guest, Nettie Owens, who's a certified professional organizer in chronic disorganization. She founded Sappari Solutions in 2004. So she's been in business for a while. She trained dozens of organizers over the years and at one point had the largest professional organizing company in the Baltimore area. Nettie is a Hopkins graduate, and in 2011, she appeared on national TV in TLC's Hoarding, Buried Alive show. She is the creator of the Take Control system and the Creating Momentum program. She helps entrepreneurs focus and create businesses that impact the world. Nettie, thank you so much for being here.
It's an absolute joy to be here with you today, Ruthie. Thank you so much for that. And before I say anything else, I just want to clarify, I was the organizer on Hoarding Buried Alive, just in case there was any confusion.
Yes, that's pretty important. That's kind of like the elephant in the room already, because that's what I wanted to ask is who were you in your previous career there?
Absolutely. So in my previous career, I was the organizer. I was the person who came in when you became overwhelmed in your environment and your closets were overflowing, your basement was overflowing, and you were just really feeling pretty crappy about your space. My business focused mainly on people who have chronic disorganization, which isn't a medical term, but it's used in the organizing industry to describe people for whom organizing has been a challenge for a while. Like they've tried other strategies to get organized and they weren't really successful. There may be some other things that are impacting their organization, like ADHD or anxiety, depression, OCD, hoarding, PTSD, brain injury, and they really don't see a change coming forward. So my whole business centered around that, and I loved that work, so much so that I found other people that could help me help others, and that was how I grew my business.
That is amazing. Okay, so I'm really impressed with that, and I'm like, man, now I'll have to find out which episode you were in so I could go watch it.
Oh, it's so easy. Okay, so if you look up TLC, Hoarding Buried Alive,
Uh-huh.
and then look for the episode called Is That a Goat? And just to answer, yes, it is a goat. It was a goat. The gentleman that I work with, amazing man. And I have to say, everybody that I worked with as a professional organizer, these people were outstanding, outstanding people. Super fun, and this man was no different. And it was just a pleasure to work with them.
That actually ties in with my next question because I want to ask about your current business. But I am really interested, and I'm sure the audience is too, to know how you transitioned from your organizing business into your coaching business.
It's a great question. And while the two seem very unrelated, taking the clients that we were working with in their houses, in their businesses, personally, one-on-one, sorting through their papers and clutter and lingerie drawers and all of those things, to business consulting can seem like quite a leap, but the reality is it's actually not that different. What I was doing in working with individuals in organizing, I was working with people who had trouble formulating a plan, being consistent, seeing the bigger picture. And many of the clients, as I said, struggled with things like ADHD. If I fast forward to what I'm doing now, most entrepreneurs have challenges with ADHD, whether or not they realize it. There's anxiety, there's depression that comes in. Not that I'm specifically targeting that, but having a coach that really understands how that can impact your work and your productivity and your ability to craft a plan and then follow that plan, it's really important. And it's kind of what distinguishes, I don't want to jump too far ahead, but might distinguish the kind of coaching that I do. I often have people come to me and say, look, I've been in other coaching programs and it just didn't work for me. You know, they wanted me to dot all these I's and cross all these T's, and I would show up unprepared, having done the work the night before, staying up late, or even not at all, and they just felt really badly about themselves. And I think there's more to productivity, and I really like to share that with the folks that I work with. So the transition actually happened I was kind of feeling nudged to work with this client base, and I wasn't taking the action on it. And so finally it just became undeniable. Like I had to change gears. And so I did. I stopped working with residential and I started working in the corporate space and also with business owners. And the it just became such an easy transition that it was like, oh, okay, well, yeah, I'm supposed to be doing this. And for a while, this may be beyond what your question was, but for a while I kind of ignored it. Like I wanted to separate myself so much from the organizing because I didn't understand the deep connection that existed. And,
Mm-hmm.
and once I put the two together and stopped turning away from this expertise that I have and the experience that I have,
Right.
everything just kind of like took off like wildfire. So, there is a really logical A to B, and I would say for your listeners, you have so much that's like a full life around you that you can always tap into that, and not try and deny one part of it, to help you create your dreams.
That's amazing. And I think too, with a lot of people who are first time entrepreneurs, I think you would have like making that transition, even if you had picked something completely different. You already had built the skills in terms of networking and, learning how to market your own business and handle clients and customers, like handling that. And that's something that when you're a service-based business, especially learning how to do your contracts and how to deal with clients and setting up healthy boundaries, those are all things that we have to learn. But you ran your organizing company for a really long time. So you would have already had a lot of those things, those skills built in. And that's not the stuff I feel like that, you're told when you're first starting a business, like, hey, so you have to be great at what you do, but then you also have to learn, working in your business and working on your business. And it's the on your business part that we seem to struggle with the most.
Absolutely. If I could give any advice that, an early in your career entrepreneur should listen to, that is pick up Michael Gerber's book, The E-Myth Revisited, and read it and then reread it and understand that you can be amazing at, whatever skill you have, whatever service you provide to the world. But you still also have to run the business and you have to set up the systems to do so, or you're not going to succeed.
Okay. Well, I'll make sure that we link to that in the show notes in the transcript because that book's on my list, but maybe it
Well, you
needs to
said
rise a little
working on your
higher.
business and not in your business, and that is straight out of this book. That's where
Oh,
it came from.
well, it sounds like I've been listening to people who have read that.
I'm sure it's definitely on the like top 10 lists of business books that every entrepreneur should read.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, so you kind of hinted to us a little bit, but and I know everybody's different, but who's your ideal client? We talked a little bit about some of their characteristics, or at least the people that you feel you connect the
Mhm.
most easily with. But who would your ideal client be?
So I've become very specific on who I work really well with, and it's again something that all business owners do need to narrow this down and understand who you can help the best, and then create a network of other folks that you can refer out to for when you meet that person who's not your ideal. But for me, it's established business owners, so businesses that have been around for at least 3 to 5 years, whether
Mhm.
this is your first business or not. So perhaps you have had another business and been successful in that, but you're transitioning, that's okay. So that's number one. They tend to have bigger businesses. They're they've already reached, for many, that six-figure mark can be a milestone for them. And so the businesses that I work with have already reached that milestone, and they're ready to be able to kind of unhitch a little bit from that working crazy hours, thinking constantly about work, having it impact their family. They're beyond that startup phase. That's really an important factor. And I work primarily with service-based businesses. There are other coaches that do product sales and things like that. That is not my That is not my forte, and I don't pretend it is. So.
That, I mean, but that's a fantastic distinction though, because I don't think that people realize how important that distinction is, the difference between service-based businesses and product-based businesses and how to market them, you know. And it's like looking at, you know, business to business, B2B, and B2C, business to consumer. The ways in which we market are usually different.
Mhm.
um, you know, so that's a very important distinction. I also primarily work with service-based businesses and consultants, so I do understand that distinction.
Hmm. Yes, absolutely. And if some people come across, I have some amazing contacts, you know, if they need a business coach or consultant in that realm, happy to share, because I'd rather they be wildly successful in what they do than us try and figure it out together.
Well, and that's another important note there. And to be honest, I have another person, actually the interview just before yours, it's getting ready to go live. Her name is Stephanie, and she's a coach, a life coach, a resiliency coach. And so she does different work than you. But before I met her and sat down for lunch with her, I had purposely avoided talking to coaches. I had, because most of the ones I feel like I come into contact with, I get the vibe that says, I can help everyone and anyone, everywhere, all the time. And I, as a professional, you know, I've got business money, but I don't have a lot of it. You know,
Mhm.
nobody has business money to just be wasting. And to hear you say, and that was very much what attracted me to Stephanie, but to hear you say, like, if I don't think we're going to be a good fit, I will refer you out. I have a network of people that I make referrals to. That's a huge confidence booster for me, because I kind of walk around like this when I know that there are coaches like, don't make eye contact with her. Don't make eye contact with him, because they always, you know, they're like, I can fix you. It's like, but can you? Can
Yeah.
you really? So
I get so
that's really
cringy
good. I
saying
just
that
want to say
myself,
that's
'cause,
fantastic,
yeah,
that
I get a
that
little.
you're confident enough to say that, you know.
Mhm. I worry when we start having this "I can fix you" discussion around coaches, because that's another can of worms, right? A really fantastic coach, one that's trained in ICF principles, and you should look for that. You should look for somebody who has that kind of background. You can hire a consultant, and that's different. A
Mm-hmm.
consultant is an expert in their particular industry, that's fine. But as a coach, you want somebody who is internationally coaching federation certified, or at least has that background, because they will hold you as a naturally creative, resourceful, and whole person that can solve your own problems. And you want that kind of person in your corner.
I like that. See, that sounds so much better. Okay, so quarantine's a hot topic, and it's
Mm.
still going to be a hot topic once we start publishing your series. So I was curious to know how quarantine has impacted your business, and if you've had to make any pivots. I know that you do some in-person events, and so just kind of hearing, that's a big question right now. Somebody, you know, said that they'd love to hear more about how business owners are pivoting or making complete changes or whatever to make it through this time.
Mhm.
So I'd love to know what you're seeing as far as an impact to your business and how you're making changes.
Yeah, so what I'm seeing, it's going to fall into a couple different categories. First of all, my clients themselves are being impacted because they fall into three different categories. One is they have a brick and mortar business and
Mm-hmm.
have now had to quickly move online. And for some of them, it's not been possible. It's not been possible to move online. And so
Yeah.
then we have to look at what are other revenue streams that we can bring in based on your expertise and, you know, what you have available. Like, they don't have the money to invest in something huge to ramp up and start, or the time. So, you know, what else can we do? And so that strategy has
Right.
been important. Others were already online, and this is no big deal. And so they're just continuing the work that they were doing. And for the third category, like, the world just opened up to them. They're starting something new based on what people need right now. So
Right.
it's I enjoy working with each of those categories, and there's been a lot that we can do to strategize and help them, along the way. For me personally, like 99% of my work was already online, and if planning was important before, it's critical now because funding dollars, as you were mentioning, are limited. Time is sort of available and sort of not. Like, people are more stressed than they were, families are home, schedules have changed. Like, there's a lot of, yeah, there's a lot of change.
Yeah.
On some ways, it's a good time to learn something, but in other ways, um, like people are really being strategic about how they spend their time and how they spend their money now that they have full control over it. So for me, that's actually been really helpful because people have wanted to know, how can I spend my time and money better? And they're looking for that clarity. So I've been able to help them answer those questions, and that's been great. Like, I really enjoyed that process. As far as the events that I do in person, which I absolutely love, I'm holding out hope at the moment because my big events happen in the beginning of October and also the beginning of March. So we had literally come home from the event in March, and then
Wow.
the country closed. I was fortunate that I was able to get it in kind of under the wire, and I'm hoping
Right.
that it's a small enough event still that we are able to make it happen in October, because I do feel like while Zoom is effective and efficient, it's not the same. And I know everybody else is feeling this too. It's just not the same as an in-person contact. In addition, we added an event in November for the mastermind level of participants that I work with, that is a private exclusive mastermind that's happening at the Rookwood Inn in Lenox, Massachusetts. And, my intention is to go ahead and put the deposit down, and where it's being hosted is yet another small business, and so she's flexible in working, to create a cohesive kind of solution, and I am as well. And that's something that I think, given how far out it is, it should be okay, because again, people will be mostly in their rooms and then we'll come together. Again, it's a small group, so but it has caused me to pause and plan and think of that plan B and what happens if, and just kind of roll with it. Like, what resources can I tap to make it work?
That's really encouraging. And I like your note about the fact that you're partnering with this other small business in Massachusetts, and they may actually be able to present more flexibility than if you were having it at a larger venue, right? Like, by larger, I mean a company size, like larger
Mhm.
type venue,
Right, like a hotel
more
or something along
a
those lines.
hotel. Yeah.
Yeah,
So they may be
absolutely.
able to present.
There are,
Such is my life.
yeah,
I'll be right